So if you're anything like me, when you use a new app or a tool for the first time, you just sort of like dive right in there and start clicking around, playing around with the options and trying to create the thing that you set out to do. Which is great, I love that attitude, but sometimes it turns out that you're not doing things in the best way and you're making a lot of mistakes. That's definitely what happened with me when I first started using Webflow. I looked back at my first ever site I designed in Webflow the other day and noticed a lot of mistakes that I now know how to do better. I've learned the error of my ways. And so in this video, I want to share with you the 5 most common Webflow mistakes that I myself have made and that I've seen other people make, and share with you how to avoid them. Mistake number 1 is not using classes. I think this mistake is especially easy to make if you don't have a lot of code knowledge, because using classes is kind of an essential part of CSS, like styling objects on websites. Basically, any style that you add to an element will be attached to a class. And what's great about classes is that you can reuse them, which means you do less work repeating the same styling. Like say I've got this white box here with rounded corners, slight drop shadow. I can just add that same class that I used on this one to any other box that I want to look the same. If you don't set a class before styling an element, then Webflow will just make one for you, which is great, but it's really hard to reuse things when you don't know what they're called in the first place. So it keeps your site a lot tidier and it lets you work much faster if you give your objects a class before you style them. Mistake number 2 is not making use of the components in Webflow. There are a bunch of things that are really common across most websites that Webflow have saved as a component for you, so you can just drag and drop that in to use as your starting point when you're building your website. Things like navigation, this is super important for. If you don't use the component for your navigation bar at the top of your site, you're gonna have to manually style all of the different breakpoints. You're gonna have to manually swap out all the links for an icon, for example, on mobile. It just seems like a lot of work when you could just drag in this navigation component and work from this base that Webflow has provided. There are a bunch of them that are really useful, things like tabs, carousel, lightbox, lots of things that you might find yourself creating for your website. So if you start with this base, you can just apply your own styles to it and it'll be much faster for you to work. Mistake number 3 is floating objects instead of making use of Flexbox or CSS Grid. The web has come a long way in recent years. Floating objects used to be the main way that you could position them in a layout where you wanted them, but now we have much more modern things like Flexbox and CSS Grid that help us position elements in a much more responsive way, and it's a lot easier too. So I would definitely recommend taking the time to understand how those things work. It'll save you a lot of time and effort and a lot of frustration as well, trying to position your objects more manually. I'm gonna leave some links in the description box for some resources where you can learn how these work and just like have on hand to refresh your memory when you're building out your website. Mistake number 4 is not saving your colors to the swatch palette. It's so easy just to click the button and add the color instead of having to like paste in the hex code every single time. So do yourself a favor and just save your color to the swatch palette. Mistake number 5 is not being smart with your type styling. If you're not careful, you can end up accidentally individually styling every single paragraph, every single heading on your page, just because it is really easy to just quickly change the font, change the color, whatever. But if you decide later on down the line that you want to increase the size of all your headings, how frustrating will it be if you have to go in and do all of them individually? No thank you. You absolutely need to be making use of classes when you're styling the typography on your page. And a great tip here is to actually style your type when you first make your website based on the body tag. If you set the font and the type color or whatever right there, the rest of your site will inherit from the type stylings you set in that body tag. So you're gonna save yourself a lot of work if you do that. I would also recommend clicking through and styling all of the H1s, all of the H2s, all of the P tags, whatever. That way when you add in a new piece of text, it'll automatically be styled how you want it. You won't have to even go adding any classes or things like that. So those are the 5 things that you should watch out for when you're getting started with Webflow. These are the mistakes to avoid. If you haven't gotten started with Webflow yet, then you should check it out. There'll be a link on the screen and in the description. You can get started for free, start playing around building stuff, start using classes and styling your type and all of those things. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with any other Webflow newbies out there who you might know who might also be making these mistakes. Let's help them out. And if you're a Webflow user already, I would love to hear about any mistakes that you found yourself making when you were first getting started with it. Share them down below in the comments. Let's all just admit our faults to each other. All right, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good week and I will see you in the next video. Bye.